I'm just kind of rinsing it with vinegar and seeing how that goes. Anyway, so after I made a cup of coffee today, I came across this, and I wanted to share this with you because, well, when I heard about the case, I was really happy that they found the suspect, but what happened, in my opinion, was absolutely terrible. So there was a person who was 21 years old at the time, and he was dating a 16-year-old. When he thought she was pregnant, instead of taking responsibility and, stepping up, he decided to conspire with his brother, who was 18-year-old at the time, and his half brother, who was 23 years old at the time, to kidnap her and then murder her and exterminate her. So she was taken. It seems like she was lured out from her aunt's house around 12:30 a.m. There was no sign of forcibly taking her, it seems, and they shot her in the back. And when I heard about this, I thought to myself, oh my goodness. Yeah, okay, first of all, right? If a person is 21 years old and they knock someone up, I understand that they're kind of concerned about having charges with sleeping with a minor, right? But I do not understand why you would escalate it to the point of, okay, I'm worried about charges with a minor, so I'm going to conspire with my brother, my half brother, that we can get rid of her. Because I understand, like, some people, they have, like, strong family bonds. But why would any 18-year-old and why would any 23-year-old sign up and say, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, let me be your conspirator here. Let's all get rid of her, and then they will not suspect anything. The thing about murder cases that I find is when someone is murdered, the first thing that authorities always look for is usually spouse, right? Spouse or significant other. And I don't know why. I don't understand how this guy thought it was a really good idea to just that, like, no, but he would not get caught. This took about 14 years to us firmly put charges against the three, and one of the reasons why it took so long is back in 2006. Back in 2006, there wasn't the technology that they have available now. So like the GPS tracking, satellite location. I don't know how they managed to find these records back before the technology existed. But hands off to authorities, FBI agents, people in the Florida Police Department working hard at cracking this case. And I really hope that these people get life in prison. I have no sympathy for people like that because to just go on that level and murder someone just for being pregnant with someone's child, it's I can't understand it at all. But let me see. Yeah, so I included the video over here. I'm not gonna show it to you because I don't want to get my stream pulled. But you know what? Maybe if I super speed it, you guys will hear it a little bit more. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, just want to say a few words. The MSO family, we're in mourning today. The loss of a very young and very bright Deputy Antonio Hernandez. He was 22 years of age.
Yeah, I think this deputy crashed into a pole, if I remember correctly, on a highway.
And all those that Antonio touched, and I just would ask that you pray for the family, and we hope that God will comfort them during this very difficult time. It's been a very long 24 hours, and I just would ask that we all take a moment of silence to honor an outstanding young man. Thank you. We're here today to update you on a cold case in 2006. Ralph Williams, age 36, Taiwan Williams, age 32, are charged with the murder of Amber Woods, who was found murdered along State Road 62, approximately 3 miles west of the Hardy County line, back in February of 2006. Amber, a 16-year-old, was last seen alive by her aunt at their residence in the 3100 block of State Road 62 in Hardy County at around 12:30 a.m. on February 11th, 2006. She was later kidnapped. At 7:30 that morning, a person driving by spotted her body about 20 feet off of the south side of the roadway. The day after Amber was found, an autopsy confirmed she died from a gunshot wound to her back. Detectives learned that Ralph Williams, who was dating Amber at the time, was wanting to end their relationship and conspired with his brothers to kidnap her, take her to a remote area, and kill her. It was generally believed by friends of Amber Woods, including Ralph himself, that she was pregnant with Ralph's child. During the investigation, detectives found a text message where Ralph was concerned that he could face criminal charges due to the fact that Amber was underage. Detectives had a variety of leads at the time, but unfortunately could not build a strong case. In April of 2019, the Manatee Homicide Investigative Unit began a re-examination of this case to include the use of previously unavailable technology. The MTSO Crime Analysis Unit, Alicia Maine, utilized sophisticated cellular tracking software to follow the towers and the travel of Ralph, Taiwan, and Jermaine and Amber through that early morning of February 11, 2006. Research confirmed the phone used by Ralph on the night of the murder was in the vicinity of where Amber's body was found. On May 20th of this year, an arrest warrant was signed for the arrest of Jermaine Brown for the charge of kidnapping as related to the case. During a recorded interview on November 2nd of this year, Jermaine, the half-brother of Ralph in Taiwan, stated that he drove to a rural location with Amber in the vehicle off State Road 62, where they got out of the car and Taiwan shot Amber once in the back. Jermaine and Ralph then dragged her deceased body off of the roadway into the high grass before fleeing the scene.
Okay, so I'm not gonna show the whole thing, but yeah, you can watch the link. I have the link in the description, and I'm just curious to know if how they're gonna plead. I'm sure they don't want to have a life imprisonment charge, and think they're gonna say, well, you know, he was only 18 years old and he got scared. He didn't know what to do. So he called on his brothers to help him out. And the brothers said, oh, okay, sure. Because they didn't know any better because of their young age. But, you know, take some pity on them because they are good people and blah, 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 blah. And they had just a terrible time. Here's the thing. Like, I hate it when people who do this kind of premeditated stuff, if they ever decide to go with the whole defense, like, oh yeah, you know, something overcame me and I didn't know, you know, I was just put in a hard place, and don't go hard on me in terms of criminal sentences. Look, if you murder someone intentionally, premeditated, I 100% believe that you should have the appropriate charges. Now, would I say that? Do I think it's appropriate to have the death penalty? Personally, for me, I am not against the death penalty at all. I think that if you carry out something against a person, and if it's 100% proven, here's the thing, 100% proven, because I know sometimes this kind of stuff, and there are errors made on the way. But if it's 100% proven and the person pleads guilty to it, especially, I think that there should be the death penalty. I also think that a lot of the times the death penalty is dragged out way too long. It costs taxpayers a lot of money. And yeah, just like things like this, I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And I do support fully life in prison. I do support death penalty if it does come up on the table. And yeah, that's it's just like this kind of stuff. It's not just all three people, right? All three people kept their mouths shut for 14 years, it seems, right? 14 years or 13 years, because one person fessed up, it looks like, in 2019. And I can't understand like why the accomplices or like the half brothers didn't come and say like, well, you know, maybe we should fess up on something, turn another leaf, or, you know, do anonymous tip of sorts. But maybe they were scared. I don't know. But it was just, I just think that there was zero lack of empathy or zero lack of care about Amber and her family. They were absolute cowards to shoot her in the back like that. She must have been terrified, right? Getting kidnapped by a person that she was in a relationship with. And then she finds out that she's getting led to some tall grass. And yeah, it doesn't even look like he confirmed she was pregnant either. He just had a suspicion. He had a suspicion maybe she was pregnant. And because it says mistakenly thought she was pregnant, I'm assuming she wasn't pregnant at all. So why couldn't the guy get a pregnancy test or something, right? If you're 21 years old and you have a 23-year-old brother, you would think the 23-year-old brother would say, maybe you should get a pregnancy test from like the 99-cent store or Walmart or something like that to confirm first. Or think about other options. You know, if you can't, he could have made the decision with Amber if she was pregnant, right, to give the child up for adoption, see other options available. Maybe, you know, they could share custody or something like that. For people who have kids early on and it's unexpected, there are choices that people can make besides murdering the pregnant one. You get what I'm saying? So I'm just like running this through my head, and there was no common sense here. Okay, he tells his two brothers. What about the rest of his family members? Yeah, what about, did he pass it through any other friends? Maybe, I'm sure they must have had at least one level-headed friend around here. I'm also sure that if he heard any rumors, the friends weren't saying, hey, you know what you should do about this situation? You think she's pregnant? You should kidnap her and offer. Like, who would who would suggest this kind of thing? It would be a person who is incredibly stupid, incredibly selfish, and has no regard for any other person, and all he's hyper focused on is a charge, right? A sleeping with minor charge over here. He just doesn't see the bigger picture here. Like, life in prison or death penalty is a lot harsher than having than sleeping with a minor. Yeah, I just updated my Apple not too long ago. I'm on El Capitan. You can hear me creaking and cracking right now, but let me read the chat right now. Okay, so let's say here. I think, well, under legal age, people cannot think properly. That's why they cannot make important decision. Um, yeah, maybe for the defense, they are gonna say take pity on us because we were really young and we didn't know any better. But come on, you telling me a 23-year-old never thought about talking the 18-year-old out of it or the 21-year-old out of it? Hey, you know what? My friends knocked up other people. I know people who got knocked up and they didn't. It's not like one person off the other one. When I was in high school, I knew a person who got knocked up around 17 years old, and I know another person who got knocked up even earlier than that. And you know what they tried to do? They tried to make it work out. They found a solution, and maybe it wasn't a perfect solution, but they did their best, and that's how most people are. It's not just okay. Well, you knock someone up, and then the first one, the gut instincts is okay. Well, we got to get rid of that person that you knocked up, right? Like, where do you hear this kind of stuff? Like, I don't hear about this stuff in the movies. I never hear about this in person. And unless you can go, I don't know about 2006, maybe there was Reddit back then. I'm sure there was definitely the internet back in 2016. I do not believe that if you do an internet search about what to do if someone gets pregnant, one of the top things on like WikiHow is uh get rid of them, shoot them in the back or something. Like, I'm like, no, no. So yeah, it's just I just hope that they aren't let off at all. I will be following this case and seeing what happens to this kind of stuff, and very, very, very curious to see what happens. Oh, there's another case that I want to show you guys. Let me show you guys this one. Here is another dumb butt criminal here. One moment. One moment. So another case, sorry you guys, I had to check up on something. Let me find this. So I heard about this case because there is someone that I know that that personally knew the victim. Yeah, let me find this. Okay, here we go. So there was this young woman. Her name was Ashley Young, and it seems that she befriended this guy named Jared Chance, right? So I guess they had, and my memory of this could be a little murky because it was like a year ago, but it seems like she was out with him, and maybe she turned him down or something like that. He got pissed off. So what did he do to that? He dismembered her. He dismembered her, and she went missing. Her mom asked him about her. Do you know where Ashley is? And he promised her. He said, I would never hurt Ashley. You know that. I would never ever hurt her. And then they find out. I think a few days later, the neighbors, I believe, called the cops because at Jared's apartment, I think in the basement, they smelled something, and they went downstairs and they saw tarp and they saw blood. So he had dismembered her to pieces. I believe he threw away her head. I think also her fingers, but I'm not too sure. So he was caught, and there was speculation that the family was involved as well because he was seen taking trash bags out of the family car with them inside of the car and throwing it away. And they were unable to locate those bags. Allegedly, the family never asked what was in those bags. Very, very strange, It would be like, okay, I want to toss something, but yeah, let me just toss it in the dumpster, but nobody checked what's inside of those bags, and I don't want to dump it at home. So if I remember correctly, I think Jared's dad was affiliated with the police department and the sheriff's department, and there was some thinking that he was getting, he was getting kind of like a free pass of sorts, or he was having extra wiggle room of sorts. But and that obviously caught up to him. He got arrested. Prosecutors and the family were begging him, where is her missing body parts? Where is her head? And he refused to say where her body parts were. He refused to give the reason why he killed her. And because he deprived the family of those details, even though he got sentenced to, I believe, 100 years in prison, yeah, there's just so much questions about, and I don't even think they really know how he killed her, if I remember correctly, but I might be recalling wrong. But it's like things like that. It's like, okay, you're gonna kill someone, you're gonna store their body in your basement in tarps, and what is your plan with that, right? What are you gonna do with that? You're just gonna keep it there? It's like, yeah, it's just strange. So yeah, and then there was that other person. I forgot specifically what the name was, but the guy looked creepy as hell. His he killed his mom and he killed his dad. He dismembered them. He thought he had something like figured out. So what happened was is that his parents were close to retirement. I think it was like the week of their retirement. He killed them, and then they didn't show up to work. So the boss was like, hey, this is kind of weird, why is so and so not showing up to work? They all show up to work. So they call the police do a welfare check. They look at the house, and they see that the temperature of the house is like 103 degrees. And the reason why the temperature was so high, if I remember correctly, is because there was thinking that it would either melt off fingerprints or would aid in decomposition. So the son who offed his parents, and it wasn't Jared Chance, it was some other person. I can't remember the top of my head, but I know it was something Junior. That one. He got caught, and his parents were unfortunately in like sterilite containers of acid or something like that, and the mom's head was in a pot in the kitchen. And it's like one of those things that's like, okay, you kill someone, and you don't think through, like, some people are gonna look for them. Like, you want to dispose of the body exactly where the person lives. Like, if someone doesn't show up to work and someone calls a welfare check, natural reaction is call the police, have the police go to place of residence. So why would you do this whole gory crime scene kind of thing where they live? That doesn't make sense. So yeah, it's like things like that. When I hear about these cases, of course I feel terrible for the victim's family. I feel terrible for the victim as well. But I just look at these criminals and I think to myself, "Oh my goodness! Like no wonder why they got caught. They all think like somehow they have this great idea how to get rid of a body, how no one's gonna catch them, but they make these really stupid errors. They really freaking stupid errors here." Yeah, does anyone know which one it is? I forgot. Let me see. Dun. Classmate was a junior and had a 3-year-old kid. Okay, hold up, you guys. Okay, so let me read the chat really quick. Yeah, I know for what's his name? Chris Watts. When he got charged with murder, he also got charged for baby Nico's death. That was his wife's Shayna, I think Shayna, or Shanna. She was pregnant at the time, so they decided to convict him for Nico's death too, even though he was unborn. Oh, watch. Yeah. So Adrian, I used to watch Nancy Grace a lot. I used to watch a lot of that stuff, and I take a sincere interest in murder cases because I find it fascinating. I hope that when I hear about like all the stuff all the evidence that they find and how they were able to figure out who did it, like cell phone location tracing, blood spatter, trajectories, that kind of stuff. I'm always like, ooh, ooh. It's like you try to pin down and you try to figure out who did these kind of crimes, and the upside is that you hope that for those people, like, right, there's always that hope that you're able to find who did it. And I think that it's good because if the police and the FBI do a really good job, it dissuades murderers from or potential murderers from doing another thing. I think they're gonna have people who see Jared Chance's case and they're gonna think, well, look at what happened to that guy. Look at all the stupid things he did, completely unnecessary, and he got 100 years. I wish. Okay, here's the thing. Look, I wish he could get like a Ramsey Bolton sentence instead, because there's no question that he did it. But of course, that can't be done. You can't do a Game of Thrones style penalty over here. Yeah, I remember I used to watch Nancy Grace. I couldn't stomach. I remember like Nancy Grace. She was really fixed on McKaylee. Oh my goodness! Hey, get off the table! Get off the table! Nancy Grace used to be really hung up on the Kaylee Anthony thing. And I remember like she got acquitted, right? Like there wasn't enough charges, or she said her dad killed Kaylee or something like that, or she got touched by her dad, and it's just like all this like pulling for straw kind of thing, and it worked. I think last time I heard she was in hiding, but then she also did some interview, I believe a few years ago. I forgot what she said, but yeah, remember Zanny the nanny, that sort of thing. Like, oh, poor woman. There was actually a woman named like Zenaida Gonzalez, I think that was the name. She got approached by the FBI. They're like, "Where's Kaylee?" And she had no idea what they're talking about. She just gave him some random name, it seems. Yeah, I think what's it called? Not the Innocent. Was it the Innocence Project? Some people they send a letter asking please look back at the DNA and see how that thing is. And there's been a number of people who have had their cases thrown out because they were falsely charged. Yeah. So, oh yeah, I heard about that. So I hope that we see I hope that we see more of these cold cases getting cracked. It's always an uplifting thing for me to read about these court cases, see what's going on, and when people get charged for crimes, I'm very, very, very happy with this stuff. Normally, whenever I hear about like cases going on in court, I don't like keeping up with it day by day, because there's like always a part of me that always thinks like, oh, okay, I just rather like binge hear everything that's going on all at one sitting, rather than like having it drag out. You know, like, okay, there was a court day this day, and then there's going to be a court day a following day. Remember the Oscar Pistorius case? Also, you remember the guy who was like Blade Runner? I was following his case, and then it's like I found that pretty fascinating. I was like, oh, now do I do I believe what he said? I think he acted very rationally. Everybody, I think, can come to that conclusion that what he did was yeah. If you think there's a person in your, yeah, okay, so in case you guys don't know the Oscar Pistorius case, he was he had his girlfriend in his residence, and it was like some kind of gated residence, like apartment building of sorts, right? Maybe it was like 2 stories or so. And I think they just celebrated Valentine's Day, if I remember correctly. And mind you, this couple years ago, so my memory might be a little shoddy on certain things. But he sleeps with her on the bed, right? Maybe like she's on the left, he's on the right. Yeah, I think she was on the left, he was on the right. And then he decides to go to the balcony to grab the fan or something. So he goes to the balcony, grabs the fan, and then all of a sudden, while he goes out to grab the fan, he hears someone in the bathroom. So he starts freaking out. And mind you, it's like pitch black. He doesn't see anything. So he starts screaming, like, get out of the bathroom, like, get out of my house, get out of the bathroom. Allegedly, he doesn't hear anything. So because he doesn't have his prosthetic legs on, he's, much shorter. He's fearful. And he grabs a weapon. You know what kind of weapon it is, and he shoots the door. So he shoots the door several times, and then he realizes, oh, wait a second, where's my girlfriend? Where's Riva? And he opens the door, because the door was locked, right? And he sees her slunched over. He shot her several times, I believe, including in the head. And he freaks out. He's like, oh, I didn't know it was Riva. I didn't know it was Riva. And when I hear about this case, I'm like, frick, if you're sleeping with someone and you know that person's right next to you, and you go outside the balcony and grab something, and you hear you hear some noise in the bathroom, which is right next to the bedroom, wouldn't your natural reaction be like, hey, Riva, I think what he did is he told Riva to call the police because someone was in the bathroom. But if you're right in front of the bathroom and you're Riva and you're inside of the bathroom, wouldn't your natural reaction be like, no, it's me, I'm in the bathroom, I'm in the bathroom, like, don't, just calm down, I'm in the bathroom right now, like, it's not an intruder, it's me. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if his brain blocked out her voice. I don't think that people go in the bathroom late at night with headphones on at all. But for whatever reason, if I remember correctly, he said that he didn't hear her say anything. I mean, I don't know what kind of bathroom he has, but if it's anything like our bathroom, which has a crooked freaking door, you can definitely hear people inside. You can definitely hear someone inside. You can hear what's going on inside. If someone speaks inside the bathroom, you can definitely hear it. But yeah, so there was this whole drawn out court case, and he was saying things like, if I remember correctly, he had like post-traumatic stress disorder. He had all this anxiety stuff. And he was puking when he several times in the court. It was like this very dramatic sort of thing. I think he only got like 3 or 5 years in prison, if I remember correctly. I might be remembering it wrong. He got off relatively lightly, and like for that kind of case, I'm like, gosh, like why would he kill her? I can't figure out a motive. Maybe it was anxiety, maybe it was nerves, but. Geez, if you live in a place like that, wouldn't your natural reaction also be like, let's call the cops first? Let me point the weapon at the door, and if anybody comes out, then do it, or that kind of thing. Like, keep your distance. But yeah, he didn't choose to call security for that gated residence at all. He just decides to take matters at his own hands, and part of that kind of makes me think like, yeah, not good. He was very famous. He had a lot of sponsorships. If I recall correctly, he went broke because he spent lots and lots of money on his defense team, and it's sad what happened. Really, really sad because it just kind of shows you like in one split second if someone let's say it was his nerves. Let's say he was having he kind of blanked out and he just didn't hear Reva's voice. I refuse to believe he couldn't hear her voice, by the way. But if that was the case, like why what happens in the common sense at all? But who knows? No one can figure that one out. Just really, he knows if, and God knows. If you do believe in a God, or Reva knows. But very, very sad case, and it was one of the reasons why when I heard about that case going on, I thought, frick, it's kind of scary. Like I imagine, like if someone has some sort of anxiety attack or if they're paralyzed by fear, if their natural reaction is to grab a weapon. And I completely understand it, right? Like if you think an intruder is in your house and you grab a weapon, like it's scary because if someone decides to discharge that weapon, they can make a decision in a split second that they could regret for the rest of their life. And that's exactly what happened with Oscar Pistorius. So yeah, it's just like things like that. It's like a lot of like, oh. But I like hearing about those cases. I like reading up on that kind of stuff. And so far, I like hearing about the cases that get cracked. I don't really like hearing too much about the cold cases because they make me very sad when I hear about it. One case that I remember hearing about, this was a big one in Hawaii for many, many, many years. There was this thing called, there was this child, his name was like Peter Boy Kema. And then, I forgot the mom's name, but the dad was called like Peter Senior, I believe. So what happened was is that like he claimed that he gave Peter Boy away to some Aunt Rose, whatever, something. I can't remember the name exactly. And then the police tried to look for this woman and they couldn't find her. But what happened later on is, so people were like asking like, what happened to Peter Boy? What happened to Peter Boy? Where is he? Where is he? Fast forward like over 10 years later, the siblings of Peter Boy come out and they say they recall seeing the dad or the mom putting him in a box and he looked like he was sleeping. I think they weren't able to find his body, and I can't remember concretely if he kind of led them exactly where it was, but I know the mom passed away, and the mom claimed that the dad abused her. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like if you are a mother and your child was killed by your domestic abuser and you could get away from the person, you were speaking to the police directly, why wouldn't you tell the police where your dead child is? Like, I don't understand it. Like that's why it's like I don't really have much sympathy for the mom, because it's like she had so many opportunities to put, if the dad did it, right, and if he did it alone, to put her child's murderer behind bars, get away from this domestic abuser. But she chose not to. She chose to stay silent for whatever reason. And let me see if I can find this frickin' case. And she died a few years ago. Okay, so he was sentenced 20 years. See that? So he was sentenced 20 years. And then, Jalen. Yeah, that was her, Jalen. So if you look at the video of him asking where the child, she was asking like, oh, here's the thing. Kema's asked for help to find Peter Boy. You will see him. He like blinks his eyes like 1,000 blinks a minute, and you could tell he obviously knew something, but they chose not to to do anything. They chose not to charge him because I don't think they had enough evidence. I don't know if I can find the exact one. Let me see. There's an ad here. I gotta fast forward it, you guys. Okay. Okay, so keep in mind this is sped up 1.75. But like look how frequently he's blinking his eyes. Oh crap. There was this one part he had the picture on. He's like constantly blinking. I mean, the guy was as guilty could be. Like, how much times can you blink? See, and that's Jalen. That's the mom. And yeah, it's just like that whole case makes me very sad. I wish that they found his body. The whole it's like so many people were trying to figure out what happened, and I think the belief is that the Kimmas definitely knew what happened, but they just did not share the information. And now Peter Boy could be somewhere. He might never be found, and the mom is dead, and yeah. Yeah, if you guys look into like this body language stuff, he just screams like he's knowing something. Like if you had a missing child, like wouldn't your whole thing be like, please, if you know where my child is, I want you to bring my child right away. Like look at that blink. Blink. So yeah, this whole story it just makes me very sad because they never were able to find it. So that's why I don't like hearing about cold cases, because whenever I hear about cold cases, it makes me really sad because there's no justice yet. But I do follow the cases where they do have breakthroughs or there is criminal proceedings, and then or better yet, the verdict already came out or that kind of stuff, or they're getting close to figuring out what's gonna happen. Because this sort of stuff, when I see this, I'm like, well, there's no resolution yet. There's absolutely no resolution. I mean, like, I think, like, yeah, there are, when killers do decide to do those kind of things, they definitely have some sort of psychological issue, a lot of them. It's either, like, a lack of empathy, or they have, like I said, psychological issues, and for whatever reason, they think that they can get away with it. They think that they're smooth liar, and nobody will figure them out because they are just very smooth at talking they think that they can be charismatic and people will believe them. But yeah, I'm happy that with evidence, investigators can see past their lies. And I think who was a really good example of that? There was that one guy, I think he was the Canadian Air Force guy. You know what I'm talking about? He was I can't remember his name, but I know he was accused of murdering women, and he dressed up in ladies' underwear, ladies' lingerie. Like, for him, he was a very, very powerful guy, and he got caught. And I remember, like, when I heard about the investigators or the detectives kind of saying, like, oh, we just, they wanted to, like, they phrased it in a way that they just wanted to make sure that his image would kind of be protected, or like rumors wouldn't be getting out. They got him to confess, and if I remember correctly, that guy was a total idiot because he wore the same boots to the crime scene that he has. Yeah, so it's like, okay, if you're gonna commit those kind of things, probably should not wear the same shoe. Just saying, because if you have the same shoe, it's kind of recognizable, like same, it's like tire tracks, right? Same size, same shoe. But Yeah, that's the thing about like murderers. They think they're very good at it, but there's always something that can kind of fess them up. If you guys are ever in a dangerous situation, just putting it out there, right? I hope nothing happens to you guys, but if anybody attacks you or if anything happens to you, make sure you claw at them with your fingers and then get some of their skin cells underneath your fingers, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, because if anything happens to you and you perish for whatever reason, with the DNA underneath your fingers, hopefully it can crack the case for that thing. And sometimes it's good because if you claw someone, right, and they find the person and the person has like all these scratch marks against them, then well, why would this person have all these scratch marks against them? So yeah, you guys know which one I'm talking about. I think it's for Canada, but yeah, it's like there was like all sorts of these things. So you think you try to be really smooth, but you're not, and yeah, just always make sure that if you do get attacked, get as much DNA evidence as you can. Make sure that just make sure, like, if you're able to claw at a person, because I know like some people might get physically overpowered, but there are things like piece of hair, DNA, fingerprints, scratch marks. It could be useful in case you need that kind of evidence. So yeah. So I need to get going. I have I have loads and loads and loads of laundry to do. I wasn't feeling too well for the last couple of days, so I've been kind of holding off on doing laundry. Monthly gift, women issues. It's not good. So I will talk to you guys. What do you mean, Kilauea eruptions? Isn't Kilauea always erupting? They're always erupting every so often, so I'm not kind of surprised about that. Volcanoes National Park, that erupted few times. I've actually checked out Volcanoes National Park. Yeah, I am feeling better now. The monthly women gift, it's just terrible for me. I don't know if it's because I like, for me it's just bad. Normally, like last month, it was really helpful because I was taking spirulina, but I'm not really good with my supplements, so I wasn't taking my spirulina, and let's just say it really showed because this month was just not good at all. Yeah. So yeah, in case you guys have know anybody who has like their monthly period or things like that, try spirulina. I take Hawaiian spirulina. Andrea recommended it to me, and it really does work. It's just for me, I just forgot about taking it because I was like, it's like I'm not. Like I've said before, like I'm not naturally a supplements person. There's a lot of times I forget about it, and then if I forget about it for like a week, that's not good because it doesn't like up my iron and stuff like that. And yeah, so I try to get my foods from my diet mostly, and I don't rely on supplementation because I know how I am. I know I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, every day I gotta take my concoction of pills and I need to take this sort of stuff. I you guys know I'm a meat eater. I don't have to worry about my B12 too much. I do take garlic tabs because of those frickin' no-see-ums, and I saw one earlier today. 30 degrees, you guys. The no-see-ums, we still see a few no-see-ums in here. Yesterday, I think we killed 2. I don't know what we're gonna do about these frickin' no-see-ums. They're outside of the apartment, just chillaxing. There's no way to stop them. If we got a 1 millimeter crack, they're gonna come in. And these windows are such a piece of crap, you guys. Like, one of the windows has like a half-inch gap between the 2 freaking windows, and it's just some shoddy ass construction. Really great apartment for $2,000. Really great workmanship over here. And yeah, it's absolutely gonna suck during summertime because if you have any of the windows open, that's the high time for no-see-um breeding season. They are gonna swarm in. They're gonna drink our blood alive, and we will be absolutely powerless to stop these freaking no-see-ums. So. Yeah, I used to. What was the thing I used to? I used to watch Forensic Files before. Um, Yeah. Springs gaffer tape. Oh, hold on. Let me check something really quick. So yeah, this is what happens when you run behind schedule, and then you got like the mountain of laundry to do, and it just gets kind of crazy. Just kind of crazy, but uh, let's check the cat over here. This is Blackberry. You can see she's very nice, warm, and toasty. Weather in New York, I don't know. It seems sunny, but I'm sure it's freaking cold outside. I'm thinking about heading out to either Manhattan or possibly going dumpster diving today. See how that is. Yeah. I don't know. Did I ever tell you guys before? Like, I used to check out. I used to watch. I used to check out like gore stuff. But then I realized like I could. I don't. I have like an intolerance to pick video. Yeah, it's terrible. So it's like like the Porsche girl stuff. I used to check that out. That was really disturbing. Made me very, very aware. Like, do not speed. I would highly recommend not looking that up. Don't look up Porsche Girl. Her name is Nikki, by the way. Nikki. I don't want to say her last name, but it's yeah. She took her dad's Porsche and she was speeding. She hit a barrier, and let's just say her scalp did not fare so well. So when I see those kind of images, I'm like, yep, do not speed, Erica. Make sure you do not do anything stupid. And I definitely go to the speed limit when I drive. I do not speed. I make sure I'm buckled up. That kind of thing. I've seen too many images where I see what happens when people do not have their seatbelts and they do not they are going over the speed limit. It's not good at all. So yeah, the only way we can get rid of the no-see-ums is we need to seal off every freaking crack in the windows, but anything 1 millimeter or less they can get through. So mosquito netting does not hold them back. And the way the windows are, there's all these like little gaps, small little gaps that they can just fly through. So it's kind of futile in that regard. Um, Porsche, yeah, Porsche girl. Yeah, that's a pretty gory image. Yeah, so I don't know. It's like I have like part of me likes seeing that kind of stuff because there's a curiosity to it, but then the other part of me, like if I see video of it, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is too much. So yeah, it's like yeah, those people who do like cleanup for crime scenes, I don't think I could handle that. I think I'd be like, oh gosh, like if there was some body that was decomposing for like a couple days, it's all filled with gases, and oh my gosh, I've seen those kind of things. Oh, it looks terrible. It looks absolutely terrible when you got a body that bloated up or oh jeez, yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's things like that. Like it's one of those concerns that I have. And I know this is gonna sound really morbid, but one of my greatest like fears is like you find out someone passes away, they live alone, and then when they pass away, it's like their body goes through decomposition, right? And depending on how it is, you hear about stories. Listen to this. People, let's say you have upstairs neighbors and then their body just decomposes, nobody checks up on them because they're a hermit, and then the downstairs neighbors is like, what the frick is like leaking into my apartment? And you find out the body kind of basically exploded and it's like dripping on the downstairs neighbor. You see what I'm saying? Like, I know that sounds really morbid, but that's kind of what happens, and I've been hearing things like that, where people find out that hey, so there's a leak, and then the authorities are called, the landlord checks it out, and they're like, oh crap, someone passed away. And yeah, just really morbid stuff, but everyone passes away, and this is just natural decomposition. It's just all those, can you imagine all those bugs and things like that, and all the staining that goes into the carpet. And I just like I just think like yeah, all the people who live alone I really, really hope that there's a system in place to check up on them, because if they pass away and nobody knows, it's just gonna be like, let's say, maggot heaven or fly heaven, or the putrid gases all around. I used to look at Live Leak a lot. I used to look at documenting reality a lot, rotten.com, that rotten, that sort of stuff. It's like the images I'm pretty like, there's some of them like I can't handle. I can handle most of them, but like the video really freaking gets me. I saw this one video where this guy got into a car crash, and I kid you not, there was like a hole in his chest so you could see his beating heart. I was like, oh gosh, shit. You know, he passed away because it was in a third world country, so you kind of figure that depending on how remote your area is, it's not like they can send you over to Johns Hopkins or something like that. But yeah, it's things like that. It makes me very aware of how mortal we are, how precious life is. Make sure that you're very, you protect yourself, and uh, you treat yourself very, you don't go crazy on that kind of stuff. And it's one of the reasons why I know some of you guys would say I'm like a buzzkill and things like that. I don't like it when Lewis drives too fast, because it's like I think to myself, like, um all it takes is like one accident, and then you end up with like really bad road rash, or you end up in a really bad situation. And one of the things he voiced to me before is like he wanted to live in another state and take like an electric bike or motorcycle and drive like possibly 100 miles to the store. And I told him, I said, I don't think that's a good idea, because I just worry like if something happened to him, right? Like, yeah, going on an e-bike 100 miles from one state to another state, it sounds doable, but and I'm sure it is, but you don't know if you get into an accident somewhere down the line, or if you go missing, that's 100 miles and someone has to search for you. It's not like 3 miles, okay, something happens. Uh, it's easy to find you. If you're going on these like remote roads, it could be very extensive man search. You could fall into a ditch, no one would see you. And I feel like there's more safety in a car. And I know that it could be interpreted like I'm just a buzzkill. And but yeah, I just feel more safe in a car than on a motorcycle or on a bike going extra like 100, possibly like 100 miles. It's scary because you don't know if someone crashes into you, let's say hit and run, and depending on where you are, you might not get it, someone might not notice you for hours or days. And if you need medical assistance, right, or you're paralyzed or something like that, that absolutely sucks. So yeah, I feel safer in a car, and I know it could be interpreted as being old fashioned and things like that. But having four metal doors and a metal cage with airbags, and yeah, and seat belts too, that definitely has a little bit more safety. And that's when I drive. Like I said, I go speed limit. I'm very cautious as a driver. I make sure that I have my seatbelt at all times, because there's only one of me. And I know that there are just so many people in my life that love and care for me. I don't want to screw it up. I don't want my life to be extinguished shortly because I did something really stupid. And I was like, oh, okay, I want to do the Need for Speed. And then you go, you go some crazy speed, or you don't wear your seatbelt. And all that takes is one split second for you to crash into something, end up paralyzed, or worse, you pass away, and then your family has like a dozen questions about like why did you do that, why were you so reckless, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's like both reasons, right? Like, so for me, when I drive, I'm a very cautious driver. I drive like a grandma, and I'm very proud of driving like a grandma. I go speed limit. I make sure, when I can do my safe lane changes. I make sure I don't cut into people. I take my time, that sort of thing. And it's, if I get into a fender bender, right? Let's say I get into a fender bender and the bumper gets hit or danged. Like, I would not have a road rage incident. Like, I know some people are like, oh my gosh, you hit my bumper. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, it's just a bumper. Like, you can always make more money. You can always replace a bumper, but you cannot replace a human life. And when I hear about like road rage incidents and how people are about that sort of thing, and some people get pissed off because someone cut in front of them and they go outside with a freaking tire iron. I honestly just shake my head. I'm like, what the frick, man? Everybody just has a goal to get home safely or go where they need to go. Like, please do not escalate that kind of situation. And I am like the most. I do not get road rage. If someone driving erratically, I make sure I keep my distance away from them. I'm like, look, if they crash into someone, they better not crash into me, because I have somewhere that I need to get going and I need to go back home, safe to people that love and care for me. It's like, I don't want to end up in this stupid confrontation about, oh, blah 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 blah. And sometimes you hear about this kind of stuff, it just makes me shake my head. When you Cars are nice, I get it. Some people are really protective about their cars, but you cannot replace a human life. And when I hear about people getting road ragey about certain things, it really makes me, just shake my head. So yeah, and New York City drivers, personally, I do not trust myself driving on the road here because I see how aggressive they can be. And when they are that aggressive, it just makes me think like, nope, nope, I don't want to end up on the road. I this is not like Hawaii. In Hawaii, it's like, yeah, you hit someone, they'll be like, oh, that kind of thing. But that's about it. New York City, you got people who do some like crazy on the road. You got people who just like, they don't use, they just, they're very, how can I say, like, some of them are very selfish. So it's like the way they drive, it's like they think they own the road, and I'm like, fuck. So I don't feel comfortable driving in New York. Hawaii, I'm okay with it. I'm not the happiest person driving because I don't trust my reaction time. Like, if someone decides to cut right in front of me and they don't use turn signals and they just abruptly do it, I don't trust my reaction. And um I know if someone like cut in front of me, they would say like, oh well, they could easily say like I was speeding up, so I just veered right in front of them. So yeah, I try to keep the 3 second distance when I'm driving. I try to make sure that I can see people's wheels, and I am, very, very cautious in that regard. So yeah, you can never be too much of a cautious driver. Personally, I don't like driving too much. I rather use the subway. I 100%, you won't die from a fatality. But with the subway, as you guys are aware of, you have people who try to scam you. You have people that can try to push you on the tracks. It's not a good thing. So New York, you got to really, really be on guard. Scammers around. You might get people might try to hurt you, and it's not good. It's not good. Yeah, this is BlackBerry. This is BlackBerry. Yeah, I don't speed. I don't speed. I go speed limit. If it's 25 miles an hour, I'll go like 25 miles an hour, 23 miles an hour. I listen to my driving ed stuff. I take my time on stuff. If anyone's like, oh, you should go faster or something, I'm like, you know what? You want to walk? Because walking is, if you think you can walk faster than driving in a car, then by all means, go right ahead. But I make sure that I look at my surroundings, and I'm always focused. Like, okay, just make sure that you don't get into an accident. Make sure that if you do get into an accident, it's not going to be that serious. I've never crashed into someone. I've had someone T-bone the car that I was in, and I've shared that experience with you guys. So I was taking a driver's ed class, and I had my instructor on the right side of me, so they had the e-brake. I had the green light. One car went in front of me right through the green light. I went right through the green light, and some asshole decided to run right through the red, T-bone the car that I was in, and he claimed that I ran through the red light. Now, if you guys are familiar with those driving instructors, there is no way I could get 3/4 through the intersection with having an instructor on my right hand side with the emergency e-brake. Right, he would have stopped me immediately. But that's what they claimed, and after that experience, it shook me so much I never drove for about 2 years because I was like, frick, I didn't see that guy coming. The airbags deployed. Oh, frick, like, I don't feel comfortable driving. So, but afterwards, I got my driver's license. It's not that bad. I just prefer not to drive. Because I kind of have that in the back of my head, right? If you don't have a camera or something, or it'll turn into a he said she said kind of thing. And just, of course, right? If anyone hits into you, they're gonna say you did it. It wasn't me, it was you. And it can turn into an insurance nightmare. So if anybody drives, I highly recommend getting a dash cam because it's to protect yourself. If anything happens, you can easily say, yeah, it wasn't my fault. It was that person's fault, and that person's lying. Yeah, I saw Jim. I think Jim was in Lewis's chat yesterday. Ooh, 4-year-old. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like, I also do believe in having rear view cameras because let's say you get into your car and you don't know that, let's say the neighbor's kid went behind your car. You might run over the kid, right? And you'd be like, I went into the car, I checked around it, I didn't see anything, I closed the door, I had my music on the windows up. I didn't know that little Timmy went behind the car because little Timmy's ball stopped right behind my big minivan. And yeah, you really need to get something like you really need to get something like a rear view camera and a front view camera, and this is just for everyone's safety. I'm a big supporter of having security cameras at a residence. I'm a big supporter of having a dash view or rear view cameras for a car as well, because those kind of things happen. You're gonna end up with a freaking lawsuit if you run over anybody, even accidentally. And if you run over little Timmy because little Timmy's parents wasn't watching little Timmy, and little Timmy's went behind the car, the parents are not going to take responsibility. They're going to say, "Oh, you ran over my child, and how dare you, and blah 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 blah, you piece of crap human." And then you end up with a huge pitchfork of angry people who, instead of asking why little Timmy's parents wasn't watching little Timmy, they would put the blame on you. So it's very important to have rear view cameras if you do have a vehicle. And yeah, especially if you get out of a driveway or something. Oh, I don't even know. I don't even know how apples. Oh, see, so Anya said the kid hit his head on the pavement. The mother, who only appeared at the scene only after the ambulance got there, insisted it wouldn't have happened if my friend hadn't been speeding. Yeah, yep. Parents are always gonna say it wasn't me. It was this person who was speeding and hit little Timmy and da 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 da. It's just parents need. I mean, like, I understand parenting is hard. I mean, I don't have a kid, but I imagine if I had a kid, I would have my hands full with that kid. But you gotta treat the kid appropriately. Don't let the kid out of your line of sight. Make sure the kid is always attached to you. I'm a very big supporter, and I know some people would criticize me for this, but I'm a big supporter of having the kid on one of those like backpack leashes sort of thing. Because here's the thing: people might say, Erica, you would be that's so inhumane to have your kid on a backpack leash. No, it'll be more inhumane if the kid gets kidnapped by someone else because I'm too busy shopping, right? It's like I'm looking at something on the shelf. I have a kid next to me, and then the kid, someone's like, "Oh, hey, little kid, just come my way," or like, "I have all this candy for you, little kid." They're just, and they're able to take the kid or have the kid move willingly towards them. I lose track of the kid. I'm gonna wish that I had something like one of those backpack leashes sort of thing. I've seen that some kids, they got this little string of sorts, and it has these little like pool rings sort of thing. So each kid holds on to one of those pool rings. Um, I think it's very, very important for parents to keep an eye on their kids, make sure that their kids are safe. And if you need to do something like a little, like the kid isn't going to know they're on a what's perceived to be a leash. They will know that their parents have has contact with them at all time. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I've seen it and I thought it was a really, really wonderful thing to have. See? So for instance, something like this. See, your kid has a harness strap, and then it's attached to their backpack, so the kid can venture out. But because you have this little strap over here, it's not like the kid can wander off and get lost. You see? So I'm a big fan of this kind of stuff. I've seen a few parents have this stuff, and I think it's a really great idea. Unless you want to carry your kid's hand all the time, or have the kid in your arms or in a stroller all the time, good to allow the kid to keep a safe distance. There's just too much child abductions going on. There's too much of kidnappers, and I don't like the idea of someone taking a kid and then the they let's say like the kid is like some celebrity's kid, right? They could say, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna do a ransom thing and kidnap the kid because the parent lost track of them at, let's say, a shopping mall or something. Yeah, see? Like, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think this is absolutely necessary nowadays. And it's not like the kid's gonna know exactly, the kid's gonna feel like you're doing that because you just want to, you know, t- um, you just want to make sure that you want to, like, how to say it? The kid wouldn't see that as punishment. See, like something like this is really good too. When I was younger, see that? You got the little hand strap over here, so that way you can never lose track of your kid. So when I was younger, like I remember I was always holding the hand of my parents. I all the time, like 100%. They never lost contact with me, and it's like if they weren't holding my hand, they would instantly, they would make sure that I'm always in their line of sight. And yeah, it's important to do that kind of thing because there's just so much people out there. You don't know if they're um, how mentally sane they are, and yeah. Here's another one too. Hold on, let me find this up. So I think it was look at this. So in case you don't know who this kid is Adam Walsh. You know John Walsh? Look at this. So the kid was abducted from a Sears department store in Hollywood Mall, and then he was decapitated, and he was found in a drainage connect. So John Walsh, the guy from America's Most Wanted, his child, yeah, his child was taken from a department store. So the mom took him shopping, and then when she went to inquire about a lamp that was on sale, she left Adam at a kiosk with some video games on display while some boys were playing with them. So it doesn't look like she left him alone too long. She thought, okay, he's with a bunch of little kids, should be fine. But she found out that Adams and the other boys had disappeared, and then there was some kind of scuffle. I found out. So because I guess Adam was fighting with the little boys, the security guard just ushered them out, and yeah, um, yeah. So they just boot him out from the store, and then it seems like he got picked up by someone, and that is kind of scary. There was a ransom. I mean, they didn't put a ransom, but they did this whole rewards thing, and unfortunately, he was killed. So that's why it's so important. Keep track of your kids. Make sure your kid never leaves your line of sight. Put a little kitty leash backpack on them. I mean, a kid leash backpack on them. And if anybody says anything, just remember what happened to Adam Walsh. This is what can happen if you lose track of your child and someone takes your child, or your kid, goes off into the roadway because life happens and you might get distracted. And yeah, it's just not worth it. No, Oreo has too much skin. He has all this skin over here. So if he tries to wiggle out, his skin actually goes over his head. I imagine a small child does not have that much skin unless the kid is like a Shar Pei. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Oreo has too much loose skin on him. No, no, no. So anyway, if you guys have any children, small children, or any kids on the way, or if you know anybody who is going to have kids, get them. I would highly recommend getting them like a kitty leash backpack. It can never be too safe. Then sorry if your kid gets scooped up because let's say there's like a big sale and you lose track of your kid and someone just scoops up the kid. Yeah, it's not worth it. I personally, like, if I was a parent, I would have those leash backpacks. I would also have the little armrest ones. You guys know which one I'm talking about. I showed it to you guys earlier. Okay, here we go. So this is what I would do if I was a mom. I would have one of the harness leash backpacks, and I would also have the wrist link strap as well. And I would make sure like it's something cutesy like this, and that way this looks more like for Oreo. But you get what I'm saying. Like something like this, it's good because the kid can't stray too far. Like if the kid wants to walk off a couple feet to check out, let's say, a tree, I don't know, a tree, let's just say a tree, they can walk off, but at least I know I'm connected to them at the risk. If we're not near a roadway, I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. And it's just like one less thing I have to worry about. I know like some kids, they don't like holding the parent's hand all the time. Like, I want to go off, or they want to see something like 2 feet away. As long as you have that wrist strap, it's that it's that protection. So the kid feels like they have a little bit more freedom, and they do. It's just that the parents don't have to worry about them just veering off 20 feet because the parent got distracted. Now it's a lot more dangerous time. So I think back in the day you didn't need to have that kind of stuff, but from what I see around, and from the stories that I hear that went on with like child abduction kind of thing, you can never be too safe. Unleash the modern. No, you know what? If my kid wants to go and do something, I let the kid do it. I just be like, look, you just need to be in my line of sight. If you want to play tennis, you can play tennis. You don't have to have the wrist strap on with me. But I just want to make sure that nobody takes you, because let me tell you about all these kids. What happens if they just kind of veer off without the parent and they talk to strangers? Like that's what I would do. I know that people might say like I would be scaring off a kid, but I would say, look, you are so important, kiddo, that I do not want anything to happen to you. And I know that people are going to see how cute you are, how handsome or pretty you are, and I don't want anybody to scoop you up because you want to, I'm sure you want to get home and you know go back home and, I don't know, play with your pets, or watch some, I don't know, Disney Plus or Netflix, or play with your Apple device. You get what I'm saying? Um, I would convey that to the kid. I would not want the kid to think that I'm controlling the kid just for the sake of exercising control, but I would try to communicate with the kid. I want to make sure that nothing happens to you, that you are always safe, and especially during a time where someone might have some idea to abduct you, because they might say, hey, like, look at that little kid over there that looks really cute. So, yeah. And then that way the kid would understand. And I would say, if any stranger wants to talk to you, remember, don't talk to like this. If a stranger is like, oh, hey, little kid, your mom says to come with me. You know what's a good way to prevent your kid from just going off to a stranger? Make sure your kid remembers that there's a code word. So if the kid's like, "Oh, okay, what's the code word?" Right? The code word could be I, the code word could be like Barney loves pink or something like that. Something that people wouldn't really think about. And that way, if the kid hears that, like Barney loves pink, the kid would say, okay, this is someone that my parents trust. But if they say something like, oh, they said there is no code word, your mom said to come with me, then the kid would know, don't go with that, don't go with that person. And I imagine that there are some people who tell their kids, yeah, don't go with strangers. But if they hear a stranger say, oh, no, 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 your mom sent me over here to pick you up because she's not feeling well, or she can't make it to pick you up because she has to go and visit your grandma or something like that, then the kid might say, oh, okay, well, if this person says mom's not feeling well, so she wants to see grandma, then I'm going to go with the stranger and trust the stranger. So it's very important to have a code word. A code phrase is even better. And that way, if someone wants to take the kid and be like, come with me, your mom says, the kid could scream, yell, punch, put all, tell people like, hey, someone's trying to take me, that kind of stuff. Just make a big scene. Yeah, so yeah, that's my thinking about that. I believe strongly in the leashes. I believe strongly in code phrase or code word stuff. And then I also think it would not be bad to put some kind of Bluetooth tracking device on the kid, something inconspicuous, like let's say you have them hold a keychain all the time, or like a little wristband or a little watch. I don't know how feasible, I don't know how long that takes to charge. But if anybody takes the kid, right, very low chance of them taking out all the accessories of the kid too. I heard you could put stuff in like a hair clip, that kind of stuff. Yeah, like you can never be too safe. Like especially if you've spent, all this, especially like with a human being. And yeah, I just kind of think about things that way. So it's like I read about this stuff. I'm like, oh, that's a good idea. As technology advances, I hope that if a child goes missing, there's a way that you could have like a tracking into like their hair clip, and then it just kind of has an alarm that goes off, or you got this like monitoring device. And I don't see anything bad about that. It's like, yeah, but you gotta trust that the thing is charged and the kid's actually wearing it, because if you have like a tracking on a little hair clip and the kid doesn't wear the hair clip, then it's kind of useless if anything happens to the kid. But it's just like one of those things that I think is really something to think about as technology advances. Hopefully we see less child abductions. Yeah, that's I think that I don't know, it's like, let's see. When I was younger, I always stayed in right next to my parents for sure. Like if I was out of their line of sight, it was because I was like at a family member's house with them. It's like my parents like really watched me, and I was a very low maintenance kid. I wasn't. I just kind of kept to myself. I didn't really run around, or if I did run around, then I would just get that look. You know what I'm talking about? That look, like stay in your place, like do not run around, do not act up at a restaurant kind of look. And I'd be a very quiet kid, just quiet, and don't really say much and stay in my place. And yeah, and now that I look back at it, I'm like, man, my parents didn't have to worry about anything. I was just very obedient in that sense. But like kids, you hear about kids with like lots of energy, hyperactive sort of thing. Like, yeah, if the kid's gonna be like that, you're better off getting some kind of wrist link or a little backpack on there. And it's, yeah, just can't be a little. That's a good thing. If I had a kid, would I give my kid a phone? I don't think I would give my kid a phone. I think I would give my kid. Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say because I know some kids have access to phones and they're pretty young. But I wouldn't trust them with a cell phone because there's too many predators out there. I would want to have some sort of thing. I don't know. Like you can't trust a little kid with an iPad, so I don't know. I don't know, but that's like many years from now. So would I deny my kid? Look, if the kid is like 5 years old, the kid does not need an iPhone. It does not need an iPhone. And then if you get the kid a phone, you need to get him a data plan. Who the hell is the kid going to be texting? Me? So yeah, I think I would just use one of those like little wrist straps, little wrist strap, little backpack thing, just and tell the kid, oh look at this. They have one little harness called Angel Wings harness. Like look at that. And you know I would like I said I would communicate to the kid, hey kid, you know look what happened to Adam Walsh. I just want you to know that when I asked you to put this stuff on, it's not because I want I have it's not because you know I want to control you in that sense. It's because I care for you, and all it takes is one bad person to scoop you up and take you away, and you'll never ever get to see you know your cute little pet ever again. So make sure that you stay away from stranger danger, use a passcode. Yeah. Give them a walkie talkie. uh her trash. Yeah. I think as a mom, I'd be one of those parents that would just be, you know, telling the kid how I would push my kid to do whatever they want to do. So if the kid saw, let's say, Karate Kid and they wanted to take karate lessons, I'd be like, hey, you know what? Take some karate lessons, see if you like it. If you don't like it, then we cannot do the karate lessons. But I would be one of those. I think I'd be one of those hands-on mom that would tell their kid or try to inspire the kid to get into like arts and crafts and all this stuff. If the kid wanted to do sports, the kid could do sports. If the kid wanted to take cooking lessons, the kid could take cooking lessons. And yeah, I would want to encourage the kid to do as many things as they want to do. And I would say, you know what, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Not everybody gets to be an astronaut in their lifetime. Only a few people will actually have the guts or you know the skills to be an astronaut. But if you want to increase your chances of, let's say, being successful at something, then find out as much as you can, speak to people who already do this kind of stuff, and you know maybe kid or maybe you'll be an astronaut if they do actually want to be an astronaut. So yeah, I would encourage my kid to do as much as they can. One of the things that I think are really great about kids is that kids tend to be kind of fearless, I find. At least the ones that I've interacted with, they, you know, you push them into something, they'll try it out, but it's kind of obvious, like if it sticks to them or not. If it doesn't stick with them, then you stop doing it. My parents tried to get me into like all sorts of things, soccer, basketball, tennis. I hated all of them, you know. I wasn't into that kind of stuff. I ended up doing ballet for over 10 years, and then afterwards high school got around and I couldn't keep up with the schedule. And I kind of like I always knew like I would never be want to be a professional ballerina at all, and I don't regret it at all. But I do like having you know trying that kind of stuff out and seeing how that was, and I'm very very thankful for having that opportunity to take ballet lessons, even though I do not dance ballet professionally. I was kind of I wouldn't say I was a bad ballerina, but I wasn't that great. I wasn't very good at spirit spinning and pirouettes and things like that. Like not everybody is, you know, you can take ballet for 10 years and you might not be like not everybody who takes ballet for 10 years is going to be like really really good. You could be pretty good, but you wouldn't be anything like for a professional ballet company or something like that. So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I believe in having exposing the kids to stuff. And yeah, if they like it, great. I do for me though, like if I had a kid, I would want to expose my kid to like dance lessons. I would want the kid to take like hip hop or something like that. And the reason why I would like the kid to take hip hop over ballet is because with hip hop, it's I like the flexibility of it. I like the idea that the kid would be doing stuff and you know, they could jive with like what appears to be kind of like current music, and they could also it's it's like if you do dancing, that kind of dancing on the street, like nobody really pays attention to it. But if you do something like ballet, that sticks out like a sore thumb. Just being honest here, like for ballet, you need like point shoes and things like that. Yeah, so having something like a hip hop class, I think it encourages them to kind of be creative because they can make up their own moves, and then they also have to have rhythm, and then you also have discipline because you take your classes, and it will also build up self confidence. So I'm a big fan of those kind of classes. And then if you start them out young, right? Let's say they're 5 years old and they absolutely suck. See how they are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. By the time they're like 12 or 13, they should be pretty decent. Yeah, maybe they're not gonna be like YouTube level at all, but you know what I'm saying? Like they'll be pretty good, and then they'll have confidence. They will feel more comfortable with how they move compared to if they didn't have that kind of exposure at all. And I think as kids turn into teenagers, they have this like moment of awkwardness, and I never want a child to feel like awkward about their own body. I want I would want a kid to feel, like if the kid wants to work on something, they can do it. And if they feel like they're a little stiff, then maybe they can just work at it. And as they overcome more and more issues, it'll bring more confidence and it'll bring them more awareness about facing issues. And I think that's something that you can't really preach to a child. You need to have them do it themselves. So I really do believe in signing a kid up for hip hop classes or yeah, that kind of stuff. And then they'll be part of a group. They'll be part of a group, and then they'll interact with people of all different levels. They'll see people who absolutely suck. They will absolutely suck when they start, and then hopefully in the future when they see people when they get better, they can uplift people who are less let's say talented than them, or less familiar with stuff than them. And I think that's very good because it promotes humbleness. You cannot just be on like a top tier level without being as a mediocre or basic level first. And it will I think like if I had a child, the kid would say like, oh crap, I remember I used to suck and I struggled with that a long time. And I see someone else struggling with that same thing. Maybe I can help them out, and maybe they'll become more confident, and we can together, we might end up being really good. Maybe we could partner for something. You get what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So I think it's important to have a kid have an opportunity to work alongside others with different skill levels, and as they get better, they can uplift other people as well. Oh, my laundry. Yeah, I did one load, but I still have to do the other loads. I'm holding off on that. But yeah, I think that like some people might feel like I'd be a tiger mom and I'd be like very controlling, but oh, I would, like I said, I would try to tell the kid like there's a reason why I do this kind of stuff, and it's because I want you to gain this kind of exposure so you become a more well-rounded human being, and you become more confident in yourself, and you will see that you progress and you advance towards things. And the more you put yourself out there, kiddo, the better the better you will be at handling life, because life does not go smoothly. You will encounter challenges, but no matter what, you just don't give up. Okay, just don't give up. You just got to remember that time that you weren't that good at, let's say, remember that time you were struggling and you weren't very good at, I don't know, like whipping butter, and you thought like you were failing at it, but you just kept working at it and you were able to whip butter. Remember that? Like we whipped butter in the jar? Yeah. Um yeah, like that kind of stuff. It's like you keep at it, you will advance forward, and even if you fail, it's okay because you have learning experiences, and you're able to use that experiences to become a more aware person. So I don't see failures as setbacks. I see them as learning experiences. And there are times where it's like I fail at things, and I think like, okay, let me go at it at another angle, or let me see how I can move forward. That's the most important thing. So if I had a kid, I would want that kid to also have that kind of mentality. I would never want that kid to like easily give up and say like, "Oh, I failed at this, so I'm just gonna give up. I guess I'm just a failure." Like I would never ever want a kid to have that kind of thing. My parents were not tiger parents. My parents pushed me in certain things. Like I took math classes, I took kumon, I took ballet classes, and they took me to the lessons, but they never said like you must do it, you must. They put me in things where I needed to have discipline of sorts, and they put me in math classes because they thought like me advancing in math would be a good idea, and it was a good thing. But after a while, I just got tired of it. I was like, fuck, this kumon shit. Oh fuck, So, um, yeah, so my parents were not controlling. I understood that the reason why they had me sign up for this kind of stuff is because they loved me and they cared for me and they wanted the best for me. But yeah, so continuing with that, if I ever have a child, I would want the kid to have that kind of same mentality. My parents were really fantastic parents. I have nothing bad to say about that, and I think I was very fortunate because it was a very loving environment. My family, we get along. I don't see my family a lot. But for instance, I know I can feel and I can sense that, even though we're thousands of miles apart, they still really care for me. I had a family member who actually sent me a Christmas present and they asked me for my address and I was like, don't send me anything for Christmas. I have a lot of stuff. And then they were like, oh, well, I never said I was going to send you anything, Erica. And sure enough, they sent me a jacket that I think is super cute. And they sent it, and then I opened it, and they're like, "You weren't supposed to open that till Christmas." I was like, "Oh well, I just opened the package anyway," and yeah, I'm gonna send them something else. But it's like things like that, It's like I have a good relationship with my family members, even if I just see them for like once a year during Thanksgiving or twice a year. I care a lot about my family. I think that I think that also like how you treat others is really like your family members or how your family treats each other is really it can really shape how a child shows up as well. For me it's like I see how my family is and I see how they treat each other with kindness and respect, and they always they're very thoughtful, so that kind of rubbed off on me as well. It's like, and they're also resourceful. Like some of my family members are freaking resourceful, so I feel like being surrounded by their resourcefulness. I'm like, dang, I had really good inspiration on that. I have a neighbor in Hawaii who's super resourceful as well. And it's like some of the stuff like she would tell me about, I would just be like, wow, that's freaking genius. Like I never ever thought about that. And she was one of the inspirations why I started like collecting glass jars. I don't have that many, by the way, but it's like I would have glass jars and I would repot things from plastic containers into glass jars and then wash out the glass jars or use the glass jars as vases. And yeah, it's when you have like a strong family unit or you have close bonds with people and you just approach each other with a lot of kindness and love and thoughtfulness and caring feelings. It becomes infectious. And yeah, so I would never, I don't think like if I had a child, I don't think that kid would find me controlling. I think the kid would say, she is like this because she wants the best for me. And but I would also do things for the child that the child might not expect. I'd be like, okay, the kid likes cookies, so I'll pack some cookies over. Or we can do some family stuff. I really, one of the things that I remember about my family is like every Sunday we would do things together. So we would go out, let's say to lunch, and it wouldn't even have to be somewhere like expensive at all. It could be somewhere like McDonald's. But we would have like family time together, and it's something that I really, really, I look back and I really cherish that kind of stuff because you realize like the time that you have with your family members, it's not forever, right? And if I had a kid, I would want that kid to remember like, yeah, I had to do this like family time on Sundays, and yeah, I had to do all this stuff, or, we cooked a meal together, that kind of stuff. But, I would tell the kid, hey, you know what, kiddo, I know you had a tough week, but you know what, I'm really proud of you. Just keep going at it. And remember, if there's anything on your mind, kiddo, just let me know. I'm here for you. I'm your number one fan. um, I would say like cheesy things like that, but I would actually really mean it. I would say, if like if the kid ever got drunk, let's say if the kid went to a party and got drunk, I'll say, you know what? If anything happens and you end up drunk or something like that, call me up immediately. I don't want you to feel embarrassed. I don't want you to think you're going to get in trouble. You will not get in trouble if you find yourself in a bad situation. I will not, I won't ground you or anything. I just want to make sure that you are safe. If you are inebriated and uh, you're placed in a bad situation, let me know right away. I will pick you up. I will make sure you get picked up. And yeah, it's not like you're gonna be grounded for 2 years. So yeah, I would not feel mad if I had a kid and the kid ended up, let's say, underage drinking, that kind of thing. I would tell the kid, like, you don't want to be an alcoholic for sure, but I hope you learn from that experience, and I hope that you're a little bit more responsible moving forward. But it's like I wouldn't tell the kid like, yeah, if you drink, let me know. I would kind of tell that kid, like, whatever situation you're in, like if you go out partying or something and you're not feeling too well, I don't ever want you to think you have to hide something from me, because I was with you from day one, and I'm gonna be on your team for the rest of my life, sort of thing. So yeah, so it's like I don't want to have this whole thinking where the kid is in fear of me. I know some parents, they rule with the iron fist, and they're like, I want you to be fearful of me, and whatever I say you got to do it. Like, I don't want to be that kind of parent. I want the kid to understand why I do what I do. And I want that kid to understand that, hey, I have these rules in place, but there are rules for a reason. There is a reason why you hang up your bath towel. It's because the bath towel doesn't fall on the ground and you get dirt on it. You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a reason why you put your hairbrush in a certain area, because that way, if you're rushing, you know exactly where your hairbrush is, or why your toothbrush is next to your toothpaste, like that kind of stuff. Like, if the kid understands it and they understand this kind of stuff, when they become adults, they're gonna say, man, I understand why all these systems in place. I'm a lot more efficient. And I think for any parent, though, the wish that they want for their kid is they want to make sure the kid is, of course, happy, ideally healthy, that they become upstanding citizen of the world, and they're a caring individual. They're caring and loving, and they add to the happiness of the world. I don't need the kid to be the smartest kid in the world, of course, but I want the kid to be well rounded. If I had a kid, I would want the kid to have a good heart and be able to see people be able to see people optimistically, in a sense, not naively, but optimistically. Say like, okay, it's um, treat people how you would want to be treated, sort of thing, unless they give you a reason not to. Make sure that you hang out with people who uplift you and they don't tear you down. Don't be with backstabbers, because there are people who sometimes, if they're not, how would I say, there are some people, like, if they have nothing better to do than tear other people down. And if you feel like there's some sort of, bad vibe coming from a person, then you don't want that kind of infiltrating. I've seen people who change for the worse in my own personal life, and it's like you try to bring them back, onto the side that they were, and for whatever reason they change, and then they can hold resentment. And yeah, it's not easy to see that kind of stuff. Like, I've seen people who had really good family life, and I've shared this with you guys before, really good family life with their parents, and then next thing you know, they find a sig other, and then they hate they don't like their parents. They have fractured relationships with their family, and it's like, I met the family, I met the parents, and I have absolutely nothing bad to say about it. It's just that they end up with some, like, venom, some vicious, poisonous person in their life who tells them like, oh, I'm who basically tells them that their family is trash and they should throw everything away, their family, their friends, just to chase them. And those kind of people are truly lost. And yeah, there's one person in my life who's like this, and I kind of mourn that I consider that they passed. They're still alive, but it's like a ghost because it's like I see that they're still alive, but they're not the person who I thought they were, and I consider this person to be a brother to me. So kid's gonna be like, you don't get it, mom. I'm gonna do what I want. Do you know what? It depends. It depends. I think if you have like a very nurturing, it depends on the kid. It depends on how the kid thinks. But I think that some kids, it's like if you have a close relationship with your child and you both get involved with certain things, like helping out the community, the kid will absorb that and they'll become a humble person. I never ever want to have a kid who's full of themselves. I've seen some people typically hold on. Oh my god, my throat. I've seen people that typically like they're only children, and if they're only children, they end up with like some kind of ego complex. So like their parents gave them everything, and then they end up like with some kind of complex because they're an only child. They don't have to share. And I'm an only child too, by the way. But I'm an only child too, and I was really fortunate and of how I was brought up, and I don't take that stuff for granted. I know how much my parents sacrificed for me, and I know how much how hardworking my family is and everything like that. And it's it's like I never like if I only had one kid, and personally I kind of only want to have one kid if in my life, but if I ever had a kid, I would never want that kid to think that the world revolves around them. I would want that kid to see themselves as a person who can uplift another person. I would have that kid involved in volunteering. Every single week, I would tell the kid, you know what? We're going to help out people because I want you to see how people live. And it's not just yourself now, okay? You have to realize that you live in a community and there are more people out there in the world than who you live with. So get involved with helping out the community, uplifting other people, and getting to understand that to make the world a better place, you should do your part, and you should also not approach people with ego. I do not, like I've said before, I do not want my kid to have ego. I do not want the kid to think that they're better than someone. I don't want a kid to look at another person and say, oh, look at that kid. That kid can't afford this, so I'm better than that kid. I've seen that kind of stuff. I've seen that kind of mentality when I was growing up in other people, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. You see people who will be like, "Oh, look at the shoes I got. Look at that kid over there. That kid doesn't have as nice shoes as I do." And it can be very snarky, and it can be very materialistic. So, what I want that kid to realize is like you are not defined by your possessions. What people remember is not the shoes on your feet, what kind of shoes you had. The people will remember your character. And it's important to treat people with respect and not look down on them just because of stupid like, oh, okay, their jacket looks crummy, or oh, it looks like their shoes are not name brand kind of thing. Kids can be very vicious. Kids can be very very vicious, and if you're not considered hip, then other kids could be like, oh yeah, how come you don't have like the newest brand shoes? Like when I was younger, I remember like I used to have LA lights. You remember those shoes, those shoes where you walk and you light up, and then every time you walk, your shoes would like give off this red beam light. I'm showing my age, but I was a kid growing up in the 90s. But yeah, it's like things like that. Like I remember like I would see a lot of kids with that, and the kids that didn't have those kind of shoes, I'd be like, "Oh, I would notice. Like everybody would notice because those kids wouldn't have LA lights." So Yeah, it's like things like that. I don't want the kid to like kind of think the only people who have the only people that they should associate with, or they think they're better than them because they got LA Light shoes and other people don't. Yeah, like kids can be yeah, kids like they'll look at these like indicators of coolness, like what kind of backpack does the kid have, what kind of shoes does the kid have. And I don't want that. I don't want to have a kid where they're conditioned to think like, oh, okay, only people with certain type of shoes or certain kind of backpack are cool. Oh, you talking about? Oh my god, I forgot what those shoes are called. What are the wheelies? I think they're called wheelies. Yeah, yeah. I remember those wheelie shoes. I tried to get into them, but by then I was kind of old. I was kind of old, and I was afraid I was gonna like go into a crack and eat it. So yeah, those shoes were really popular. I remember when everybody had like the Razor scooters. Remember those? The Razor scooters were really popular. Kendama, that was like within the last 6 years or something. Kendama was a really big thing. What else? Razor scooters, Kendama. Oh, I know those Hatchimals or something. That was a big toy thing. Hatchimals. I think that's what it calls. Yeah. Kind of maybe like Tamagotchi. Remember Tamagotchi and Pokemon? Like back in the day? Everybody had them. Everybody would get on board with that. So yeah, it's like yeah. So I would want, like, if I had a kid, I would want the kid to be very humble, and I would want that kid to have that kind of knowledge. Like, if you have something nice, it just show, be appreciative of it, but don't use that item against another person and think that person is like beneath you because they don't have that item. I knew people. I knew people that didn't have much, and then their parents was working like 3 jobs, and I didn't realize that for the child to have some of those things, like those parents would be like working their ass off just to make sure that their kid was like kind of hip and things like that. And I look back at this stuff, I think, man, that's how selfless some parents can be. They will put in that extra hours to make sure that their kid does not feel like they're inferior to other kids, or that the kid is hip as well. And it's like things like I didn't realize until like years after, after I grew up, and I heard about like the backstory. I'm like, really? I didn't know that. I just, yeah. So yeah, kids can fitting in with other kids can be kind of rough. Kids are expensive. Kids, the latest fashion trend kind of stuff can be expensive as well. I don't remember the big wheel. So yeah, that is my take on it, and I would just yeah. So yeah. Oh, yeah, so that is my take on it, and I would just make sure that it's blackberry. You can tell because there's no white whisker. Yeah, so I really should have made a separate stream for this. This turned into like a freaking 2-hour video about me talking about crime, and then from there I went into like harnesses, and then from there I went into like if I had a kid, how I would raise that kid, and yeah, I think that if I had a kid, my kid would end up. I hope to think that my kid would end up really well rounded. I think my I would want my kid to be humble and motivate and inspire people to be better. And I would also, here's the other thing, like I would never want that kid to feel, I would hope the kid wouldn't feel envious of another kid, because I would tell that kid like, hey, if a kid is doing better than you at something, then you just work harder. You work harder at stuff. Don't waste your time envying other people, because that's going to get you nowhere. You can envy all you want, but you're not going to move forward in life. So you need a, if you see a kid, let's say, doing better at like hip hop dancing than you, then work on your hip hop dancing. Spend extra time on it, and eventually you'll get better. No, 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 no. I wouldn't get stuck in an escalator. You can always unclip that stuff too. Right? If the kid gets stuck, you just take off the backpack or take off the strip. There's like a little keychain thing. So I'm not worried about that at all. But no, one of the ways you could tell it's blackberry is I don't know. Blackberry looks more round of sorts. Oh gosh, yeah. It's hard. Like, I think sometimes kids are very susceptible to other kids, and like they got this whole clout mentality, especially like when it comes to advertising, right? They'll advertise all this stuff like why the kid needs this stuff. Now, I don't watch TV, so I'm not very in tune with a lot of the kids trends, but some of the stuff like I hear about kids trends, I'm like, dang man, all the kids want it. It's and then if the kids want it, then the parents want it too because they want to make their kids happy. And I would not want to have TV available for the kid too much because if the kid is, I don't want the kid to be exposed too much to TV. Like the kid can watch Netflix or they could watch documentaries and they could watch YouTube ish, depends on. But I wouldn't want the kid to, just be kind of bombarded by advertising after advertising after advertising. Yeah, maybe I should watch some kid shows on like I don't know if they have Nickelodeon available. I watch some Nickelodeon ads and see what they try to sell me. And the way they talk, it's like, oh yeah, look at the newest, coolest thing, or like make those like little oven bake shop kind of things. I would not waste my time on little easy bake ovens. That would be like, kid, you want to bake? You know what? Let's bake some actual food together. Not this easy bake oven crap. I don't know. There's, you know what? The thing about those in things is that there's a there's people and there's millions, if not billions, of dollars trying to tap into the kid mindset. So you got all these advertisements being spent on kids, like, oh, okay, kid, you need this and you need that, and you make sure you have this because if you don't have this, kid, then you aren't cool. Yeah, it's just trying to get you into that whole I don't want to say scarcity mindset, but it's like you're not complete without having these sort of items. Yeah, hard work beats talent. Yeah. Yeah, definitely Red October. I've known people who are very talented and stuff, and it's like they get complacent, and if they get complacent, they don't apply their natural talent to it, then they don't get anywhere. Oh gosh, yeah, Fortnite. I'm not a big video gamer, so I guess it all depends. Like, I think computer games are very dangerous for kids, and I say that as a kid who was really hooked on things like EverQuest. I used to spend like hours. Now, when I'm talking hours, I used to spend like 8 hours a day playing EverQuest at some point. Like I was like a high elf or something like that, and I used to like hunt bats or something like that. And yeah, I got really into that game, and that's one of the reasons why you don't see me play those kind of games. It's just too easy to get hooked into that environment, and then after you spend all those hours on those video games, you look back at your life and like, what did I accomplish in 8 hours? Like jack, kind of thing. I don't want that for a kid. I don't want the kid to get hooked up on this fantasy life, not progress their own life, and yeah, they might end up with all these awards and like these in-game video awards, like like little in-game trophies or medals or the stuff that like you can collect on account. I don't want the kid to focus on that more than their own life because those kind of video games in my opinion, they don't the kid was not going to have interest in that for the next like 50 years or something. And I don't want the kid putting all their focus and all their energy into a video game rather than their own personal life. They can do a lot more with their own life than hyper focused on a video game. I've seen also people where I've seen people where they raise these kids and then the kids turn into video game addicts. And once they like tell the kid like, hey, cut back on your video game, they end up with a lot of resentment from their parents. Like the kid does not want to do things like the kid doesn't want to take care of themselves. They don't want to brush their teeth. They don't want to take a shower. They just want to play video games all day long, especially those kind of video games where they're hooked up onto the internet and it runs 24/7. Like there is no like sense of, okay, just put down the video game and start. Like Mario. Remember like Super Mario World? I mean, that was pretty clear cut. But when you have these like online video games, it's just running 24/7. It can be very unhealthy, I think, for a kid's mind. And I don't want to have a kid hooked onto that like lifestyle. Like, oh man, if I'm not playing the video game right now, then I'm not going to be able to advance. So I must play the video game. Yeah, I don't want that. I don't want that at all. No, some people get some kids get very resentful for the kids because they're gonna see the parent as a buzzkill. So they're gonna say like, "Oh yeah, I had so much fun playing that video game for 3 hours. Why did you stop?" And then they're gonna hold resentment toward the parent, and the parent's gonna say like, "No, no, kiddo, you need to focus on other things." The kid will be like, "I don't want to focus. I just want to play game. I want to play video games. I want to be with the cool kids." That kind of thing. Like it's not mentally healthy, and I don't want to end up having some kind of fight with the little kid because the kid's like, oh, they're so stimulated by flashy lights and video games that they neglect other things of their life. And I think as a parent, you need to have that kind of control, and you need the kid to focus on other things. So for me, if I had a kid, I would tell that kid, okay, every week we're going to be volunteering, or at least, every other week we're going to be volunteering, helping out the community. And that way you can make a difference in the world and see how that is. And then the video game situation, I'm not going to allow the kid to play video games at least until they're like, I'd say like 10 years old or so. Anything younger, I think it's when they're really developing. I don't want the kid to think, okay, there's eat, sleep, and video games, because that's a very unhealthy relationship. I want the kid to interact with people in person and contribute to society more than just being like one of the millions of people who play video games. Except it'll be worse because if a kid is hooked up onto a video game all the time and they don't really have many responsibilities, they'll just be playing video games all day, all night, and they're not going to see the downsides of not having control, right? Because when you're a kid, you don't have to answer to anybody. Your parents make all your food. If yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. I don't want to get down that slippery slope of the kid thinks you can spend your whole life playing video games. I don't think I would be toxic for trying to hold off on having the kid play video games. Like, here's the thing: like, if you're playing something like a Nintendo, you can turn that off and you can start exactly where you want it. But some of these video games nowadays, like I said, it goes on 24/7. You're hooked onto the internet. You're chatting with people. You're chatting with these people in these large groups or guilds. It can be really something. I've known people who just hyper focus on the video games, and they don't focus on anything else in their life except the video game. Like that's all they do. And then the worst, they spend money on this stuff too. I don't think kids can I don't want to put the responsibility on the kid and say, "Oh yeah, kid, you got to have willpower for playing this video game." I think as a parent, you need to know better, and you need to be able to see, like, okay, what. what will happen if the kid doesn't have anything going on in their life except video games? Video games, I think, is a really is a way for some parents to not parent, right? They'll just be like, hey, here's a computer kid, here's a TV kid, just knock yourself out playing video games. I don't want to be that kind of parent. And it's easy, it's easy to just say, okay, the kid takes care of itself. The kid shuts up, all it does is play Fortnite all day all night with like headphones on, doesn't bother anybody. And yeah, it's lazy parenting. Parents need to have control over their kids, and it can be kind of scary if the kid gets kind of hooked up on those video games to the point where they see the parent as like a person taking away their joy or all their visual audio stimulation. So you need to expose kids to other stuff. It just basically that's why it's like I don't want to have a kid and then leave them with the video games first, but have other things in their life. And then if they have those other things in their life and then they have the video games, like I think that's a lot more healthier than just being like, "Hey kid, here's just a video game." But I don't I have to like think about certain things, and thankfully it's like I have a number of years to think about that kind of thing. Piano, guitar, and violin. Yeah, I've heard that's really good for the kid's brain. Helps makes connections, calms them down. I think piano is really great. Yeah, I like piano. I can't play piano for beans, by the way, but I like the idea of piano. I would not want to put the pressure on the kid to learn piano, though. Like, kid, do you want to play the piano? Take some lessons. If it doesn't stick, doesn't stick. That's what I would tell the kid. I'd be like, I'm not gonna force you to play piano, and then the kid hates me because they're like, I had to play piano for 5 years and I absolutely hated it, but my parents forced me to play piano because they wanted to show off. Some parents are like that. Some parents are like, oh yeah, my kid plays piano, and when guests come over, I'm gonna have my kid play the piano for my guests. Like, no, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna say, kiddo, here is a piano. You want to play it? You can play it. You might end up being as good as this guy on YouTube. Maybe not, but you won't know unless you try. Yeah, when I was in school, I learned how to play I got exposure to a few instruments. What did I get exposed to? I got exposed to guitar, except that didn't stick very long because it was kind of clunky, and I was like, my poor fingertips. And then I learned, of course, a lot of kids they learn how to play the recorder. I didn't like the recorder at all. Instruments doesn't stick with me, but I like having that little exposure. Having that exposure, at least I could say I tried it. It didn't work out for me, but hey, I tried it. Mm. Yeah, violins are expensive though too, if I remember correctly though. Maybe I'm thinking about like certain violins, but they're freaking pricey. I hear about like some of these instruments and it's like, oh jeez, it's so expensive. It's such an investment. Yeah, like when I went to high school, we had like guitar classes. We had guitar classes, videography classes with like like the really freaking big clunky Sony Handycam cameras, that kind of stuff. Photoshop lessons. What else did I do? Pottery. Um, Recorder. I think that was another instrument I learned, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Oh, I think it was ukulele, but yeah, that didn't stick with me either. I was like, oh, my fingers hurt. So, but at least I could say like I tried it, and I tried it for a few months, and I was like, I don't really care for it. So I'm not really instrument person. Obviously, you guys know like the stuff that I like tends to be like floral stuff, arts and crafts stuff, and yeah. But I do appreciate music. Um, I do appreciate like listening to music. I like piano music. I listening to violin, but I also like Shawn Mendes and Justin Bieber. Listening to that as well, and DJ Khaled, and yeah, yeah, I love that kind of music a lot too. So I need to do laundry because I have a whole bunch of laundry to do, and I did not do my laundry. So, I will talk to you guys later, and yeah, I liked having this conversation with you guys. I didn't expect my stream to be so long. I thought it was going to be short, but then I started reading into chat, and then I went down the slippery slope of talking to you guys, and then I hope we had some. I learned I learned a lot. I learned a lot. Like whenever I interact with you guys, I learned about new things or new perspectives. It's like I didn't really think about like, oh yeah, well you should actually expose a kid early on into an instrument. Their brain is more malleable. They have more openness to learn, and it's not bad. You know, it's not bad for a kid to learn an instrument. I think learning instrument you have to have some sort of discipline, and the kid can obviously hear and see that they're progressing over time, and when that happens it's very empowering. And I really believe in having kids who have, you know, who do feel confident, or they do feel empowered in their abilities. And yeah, but you cannot get that unless you expose kids. Like you cannot tell a kid to be confident and just expect them to be confident. They need to form that confidence themselves. They need to nurture that and shape it. And yeah. Yeah, if you know, the great thing too is like for YouTube, you can learn so much stuff on YouTube. Like floor arranging, you can learn that on YouTube. Arts and crafts stuff, you can learn that on YouTube. Piano, you can learn on YouTube. There's even learning languages you can learn on YouTube, and you can learn it for free. A lot of I remember when I was growing up, like some of the stuff that you wanted to learn, you got to take these crafts, these lessons. Like if you wanted to learn how to make a candle, you gotta take a candle making class or a soap making class. You can find this stuff for free on YouTube. YouTube is amazing. So I imagine there are some people who are probably teaching their kids watching videos from YouTube. And I think Clan Academy or something like that is one of those resources. Clan Khan Academy. I can't remember the name of it, but you guys kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, technology is amazing. Pods are bad. Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing about learning to play at your own pace. Like you don't have that pressure and you get to see yourself, and you don't have the pressure of paying someone hourly. Sometimes you see people like learning, you know, they feel like they're paying a tutor hourly, like $40 an hour to teach their kid. And they're like, "Oh, frick, you know, the kid's not learning that much and it's $40 an hour." So, if you can learn for free on YouTube or use a book, that's even better. That's You don't have that hourly pressure. Yeah, I used to go to the library. Now I just Google or YouTube it. Yeah, I love Google so much. I should have bought Google stock. I should have bought Google stock, but instead I got an ETF instead. So yeah, I don't know how my ETF is doing today. Last time I checked, I think it was down like 0.5%. Not that bad of a deal, but yeah, we will see how that is. Anyway, so I really got to tackle this mountain of laundry. You guys stay warm and stay safe, and I will talk to you guys later. See ya.